We're all here. Calling the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Welcome to the June 11th, 2025 regular business meeting of the Ashland Parks and Recreation Commission. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Weiner,
Here.
Commissioner Bachman,
Here.
Commissioner Adams,
Here.
Commissioner Lund.
Present.
Everyone's here except Mike. Commissioner Gardner is not going to be at this meeting because he's out of the country.
Thank you. Next 3 is approval of minutes. If without objection, okay, Commissioner Lant, you have a correction?
Yes, for the joint study session of, was that the 7th of May? Under the discussion, the counselor discussion under round 3, it states Dahl said that meetings should happen 4 times a month, and that was just basically a typographical error. It should be an annual. It should be 4 times a year, and so I move to approve those minutes with that correction.
Thank you. And any other,
I'll second that motion.
we'll handle this the old-fashioned way. You've spoken. Have anything to say? Roll call, please. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Weiner,
Yes.
Commissioner Bachman,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes.
Commissioner Lund.
Yes.
All yes, minutes are approved.
That's for the second minutes under the approval of minutes. That was a joint study session with the City Council on May 7th. There were 2 other minutes to approve: Park Commission special meeting on April 28th and Park Commission regular business meeting on May 14th. So without objection, asking for unanimous consent. Hearing no objection, passes by unanimous consent, the other 2. And excuse me if I rattle a little bit, I'm working on cough drops today. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? Moving on to number 5, public forum. I don't see anybody here to give live, and we don't have anybody on Zoom, so there won't be any public forum this evening, which brings us to the consent agenda, which is acknowledgement of the RDAC meeting of November 21st, 2024. Without objection, I'll ask for unanimous consent. Hearing no objection, the consent agenda is approved. And that takes us to item 7 on the agenda, which is the director's report.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioners, for the record, Rocky Houston, Director, Ashland Parks and Recreation. So getting right underway in administration, we hired 4 park technicians in the last 2 weeks, and they're all getting on board and getting trained up. So it's great to have a nice little cohort and get almost back to 100% full staff. So it's great and a great time because things are really picking up out there. The budget, of course, as everyone knows, was approved by council with the $15.8 million for park operations and the $6.2 million for park capital, roughly. We are looking to transition our in-person customer service to the Grove starting in July. So right now we transition where we have 1 customer service specialist, admin assistant, sharing the time between the Grove and the Nature Center, and we have a seasonal temporary employee who's working at the Senior Center. So as we bring on the new admin specialist that was part of the budget, the goal is to have majority of their hours there and have 1 spot where everyone can come to kind of do business and be reliable and open more hours for the government. We're also looking to seeking for volunteers to help keep the Nature Center exhibit room open. That's been the core business need that's been occurring there. There's a couple couple people a week come in and kind of utilize that front sort of programming area. Our staff structure, we're currently developing a revision to our structural framework to meet our operational and programming needs. We'll be bringing that back to the commissioners in the near future. And really the goal here is to align our staff with the goals and objectives of the department as been discussed over the last few months through our budgeting process and other things. Golf, we're finally getting back to where we're beating year over year for range balls and rounds of golf. Still want the gold line to be longer, bigger, better, but it is progress. Gosh darn it, the turf or grass tees at the range aren't still open yet. Staff's wanting to, they're almost ready to get open. You know how it is, it's still got the new car smell. So we'll be getting out there real soon and getting that opened up.
Do we have an ideal goal? Do we have a number that we're shooting for with regards to golf range balls and rounds of golf played that we think would be the appropriate and acceptable that we're meeting goal?
We don't have one specifically on the book. I think where I've been doing is we set a revenue goal and how we get there through those things. Right now, over the last few months, has been trying to focus on beating year over year, month over month, day over day. It's sort of something when I was in the retail world many moons ago, that was sort of that core thing is you got to beat same day last year, same week last year, and continue to just get that mantra focus, and then we'll be setting better goals as we move forward.
Let me just say something about meeting protocol. This is fine what's happening here. During a director's report, and there might be some other reports, I'm basically turning the floor over to the director, and then he can take questions when he feels it's appropriate.
Commissioner Adams.
I had a golf question as well. A member of the community and enthusiast of our golf course mentioned to me recently that the range used to have sort of a membership or annual pass kind of thing where you could pay for unlimited access to the range, and that he said that went away this year. Any?
So I've heard of that. I don't recall that we had it operational in the last since I've been here. I know that was what we are working on is a range card to where if you buy so many buckets of balls in advance, you get some deal off that way. So as well as we have our two different type of annual memberships, so that we have weekday at a lower rate as well as a full 7 days offering. So that hadn't come up in when we were developing rates this year, so that is something for us to continue to consider.
So just to clarify again, so the membership then is for the course or for the range or both?
Course.
Okay, great, thank you.
And we've gotten a few more anecdotal, heard it was shaping up and looking good, and gosh darn it, you're right, sort of anecdotal comments recently from some other players in the valley. So that's good to continue to start to show that the course is coming back. Senior services, always a robust experience there. Some of the presentation events we had in the last month was a presentation on recognizing and responding to strokes, how to be smoke wise, end of life planning, and art class. And the pictures here below are that sort of, I guess, collages of the most cherished memories. So always pages and pages of stuff that we could talk about. Environmental education, we had Bird Day, so that was, I think it was the Saturday before Mother's Day. We had about 250 attendees, if I got my numbers right, and it seemed like everyone was having fun. And as you can see, owls was a theme. We had a face painter there, and lots of kids went away with disguised as their favorite bird. Volunteer work parties continue to go. We had our Adopt a Park work parties at Ashland Creek Party and Bluebird Park this week. If you're in Lithia, you see the roads closed. It's because we have the YCC crews spreading chips and doing work there. This is one of 2 weeks that we have during the summer for them. Recreation, we had a kids' day at Japanese Garden, and I don't have the attendance numbers off the top of my head, and Rachel's not here to shout out what it was, but from all accounts, it was well intended and well loved. This long list you probably won't be able to read, but in the last 9 months, this is 50 of the 51 projects that we've completed in preventative maintenance, deferred maintenance, and vehicle replacements. So everything from switching over to bear cans at our trailheads to make them a little bit harder to get into, to painting many of our structures, replacing roofs, HVAC systems, a new conference table, to getting 3 new electric UTVs that just arrived last week. It was 2 weeks ago now. So this is primarily was funded through our savings from last fiscal year. So again, trying to continue to reinvest in the system to pay it forward and have less of a deferred maintenance as we move forward. And I'll pause for 13 seconds to let the reading continue. It's only 25 per line-ish. Yeah. There was the one that isn't shown up there is that we did an additional fuels reduction at the Liberty Street access property. So we did additional fuels reduction there and had some burned that already as well. So we had talked in the past about some of our level of service modifications and looking to do business a little differently to meet our current limitations finance, even though we got additional revenue versus where we thought there's still a baseline from this current biennium as we move forward in most of our operational categories. And so as such, we've been going through the objective of prioritizing our routine maintenance tasks to try to increase our capacity so we can do the right things and more times. And have the least amount of impact, so sort of an inverse ratio. So if we have a high maintenance, it takes us a lot of time to do something, and a low impact, not a lot of people benefiting, and trying to balance that out to build a few more extra hours of the staff time we have to get other things done, to make sure that the parks are safe and clean. So with that, the first thing that you'll see is that irrigation reduction. So system-wide, the parks on the left and the larger reduction, there'll be a lighter shade of green. They won't be getting as much irrigation, and the mowing will change a little bit. Minimal reduction, as you can see, is Lithia Park, North Mountain, Oak Knoll, Hunter Fields, and Triangle. Most of those are TID irrigated for majority of the summer. Triangle, because of the mature trees there, was one where we didn't want to cut back there specifically. So otherwise, this being a small park like that, we would have done that. Commissioner Lant.
This list makes sense to me, except for Garfield Park. That park is so heavily used. I'm just surprised that that would not be on the minimal reduction.
We were looking at this, it's a good point, and we can definitely continue to look into that. Because it's not programmed for a high level of use in regards to the turf itself is why we were looking at that reduction. Just like Briscoe for the soccer field, of course, that's primarily used in the spring, and so we'll continue to make sure that that's kept to a higher standard for that element. But that is something we'll continue to look into and revisit. These are all iterative in regards that we're always continue changing. The goal is to have reduction in our our water bill that we can then translate into either having additional seasonals or other services rendered to get work done. Yes, Commissioner Weiner.
Do you have a sort of, I mean, are you planning on like sort of an active management plan for the irrigation? So, I mean, I'm just thinking about this heat spell we just had, there'll be more, where you're able to responsively increase irrigation during those times to mitigate some loss.
Definitely in the minimal reduction parks. So we have our new controllers for our irrigation is responsive to the weather, so we can set at a level, and it will increase and decrease based off of those parameters we place in there, as well as we can increase it if we're seeing something that doesn't look as good, so it needs a little bit more. So with this last weather, irrigation did occur more, and then now as the weather drops, it will. In the past, you had to manually kind of turn those things on and off, or you see irrigation going while it's raining, that sort of stuff. So this should reduce that. Well, there'll still be some irrigation because the rain may not be enough, but that is the hope. And another thing that we've done is with this new system, we've been tracking our utilization. In the past for at Lithia, we'd have to talk to the water department to open and close the valve and reduce, and they would totally close off the water and then turn it back on. And it takes a few hours actually to do that, we found out. And so this has allowed us to where we can say, hey, instead of being at 50, let's go down to 45. And so now we're utilizing less water and still not having any impacts to it. And so it allows us, and it's much easier to go up or down a couple versus open and close. And so this is, again, not only does it benefit us in using less water, it benefits another department and less staff time to meeting our needs. Other reductions is in trash cans and mutt mitts. So where we have a large number of trash cans close to each other, we're looking to go on a diet and thin those out, still making sure that we have them in high traffic location reservation areas and easily accessible for staff and the public, but making it to where we have a smaller trash bill. The other thing we're looking to do is replace as many as possible with the bear cans for two reasons, because we do have bears, and also for house trash. Another thing, the receptacle size is smaller, and it's harder to put in a big bag. So you have to, they're designed more for a can or a small bag. And so that's another advantage for, again, trying to not pick up the trash bill for some of our residents, which in a couple areas is an ongoing opportunity. The mutt mitts is something that, again, we were spending 2 days a week with at least 2 staff, and pretty much for the whole day, those 2 days, that's all they were doing is going around and picking up mutt mitts. And so again, while it's an important tool and asset, what we're doing is making sure that we have the mutt mitts there, but not the trash cans. And so again, we're trying to look at that long term. If we get a lot of feedback from the community about the reduction, is looking as, again, with that volunteer program we've been talking about, is how can we activate our citizenry to kind of help with some of that workload. And there was a testimony to council, and I don't know if you were all heard that, but Drew, one of our technicians, cleans out the trash can at the dog park. And I think it was 43 tons of byproduct that he pulls out of there a year. And it's just 42 pounds at a time. And so it adds up, and we have to pay a trash bill just like everyone else. Yes, Commissioner White.
So I mean, I feel like I understand that the concern with the workload and the cost associated with it, but I fear that there's going to be an increased level of both garbage in parks and a ton of, like, mutt mitts, I guess is what they're called.
Doggy bags,
filled with dog excrement scattered around park areas and left it where there's used to be I've seen it already. I mean, you see it even when there's trash cans. People think that if they scooped it in their bag, they can just toss it on the side of the trail and fetch it later, and then they
Never
don't. So do we have a plan in place to monitor that so that we can determine if this is a successful endeavor or an unsuccessful endeavor?
We're going to continue to monitor it, yes. What I can say is this is the third time that I've gone on a trash can diet, and except for like a spot or two in each park system, we've actually not. People have been responsible and packed it in and packed it out. There's always an outlier, of course, but for the most part, we reduced our trash bill, our labor costs, and that trash was leaving the park in a vehicle or however it is. So, Commissioner Adams.
I just wanted to clarify. In general, this idea makes sense to me. We're not actually talking about getting rid of the one trash can in the center of the dog park, though, since you used that as sort of a poignant example. That to Commissioner Weiner's point, seems like we want that.
No,
that
one
poor
will be
guy who
there.
has to empty it. I get it, but we want.
But
that
at
one there.
every little access point onto the trail system, I think just about we had a little mutt mitt because people would ask for them, we'd install them. And we were just on a very ad model for a long time. And now we're looking to trying to put those, so you'll still see mutt mitts, you just won't see them everywhere. And so again, it's trying to make sure that our developed areas they're there. And when we do still have trash cans, it's just not at the, you're going to have to walk a few feet for sometimes to get to it. Commissioner Lott.
I share Commissioner Weiner's concerns. And as an operational conservative, I'm thinking that a pilot might be a wise approach. Try it in a few places before you wholesale do it everywhere and get some feedback.
Yeah, we've started a couple months ago, and so we've been slowly removing some of these to see if there was any immediate. And so far, we've gotten a handful of concerns in the reduction, but we're continuing to watch it and see if we have littering or landmines and bags deposited as well. And so we're watching it, and I'm not calling it a pilot, but we're going to ebb and flow if we're not seeing the savings as well. So it's just trying to figure out how we continue to put more dollars into other places and use our limited staff time the best we can, which is always tough because there's going to be losses for some things. Commissioner Chair.
In education, we were trained and used the idea of a monitor and adjust. So we come in with a lesson plan, and within 3 minutes you were adjusting.
Right.
So it's monitor and adjust forever.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
And, less is more. That's sort of the mantra, but, or do more with less is sort of the same conundrum we're always in. We talked a little bit about this before, but there would be some system-wide reductions in mowing and landscaping. So we'll continue to have weekly mowing in Lithia. North Mountain Park will be more than weekly based off of playing conditions and those needs, of course, and as will Hunter. But on general, for the non-sports fields, it'd be weekly. Bi-weekly mowing for all other parks except for golf. We're going to raise the mowing height just a bit, again, to encourage water conservation and hopefully minimize the irrigation and cutting needs. Minimize our edging to monthly. Minimize our hedge pruning to focus on clearance restrictions versus more ornamental style of that we're doing now. And then there's minimizing open space mowing to perimeters. So a 15 or 30 foot perimeter instead of the whole acreage at Michelle Street, Strawberry, Riverwalk, Mace, North Mountain Park, WWTP, now I can't remember, wastewater treatment plant, East Main, and Kestrel. And those mowing reductions equal 15.65 acres. In addition, we've worked with Public Works to where the airport is should be transitioning July 1st to their responsibility and through a contractor. given the increase in 17 properties we've been managing over the last few years, again, is trying to reduce our need for additional staff to continue to meet the level of service for that work as well. On sport facility reductions, so tennis courts are getting blown out weekly. We're looking to do that every 2 weeks. Of course, we have volunteers that do it at a higher level when needed. For example, at the pickleball courts. If it rains, they'll even squeegee those things off. It's a great group. Volleyball grading to be once in the spring, and reducing our court blowout cleanups to once a month. Again, we'll continue to wash to make sure that we still have the best we can. And then the splash pad hours have been changed to 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. To reduce the water quality check. So again, to reduce our number of times staff have to go out and do the required checks. We've gotten feedback that it's not open early enough and it's not open late enough. And so I think we got the sweet spot. During the middle of the week, of course, people get off work and they want to go get cooled off, and it doesn't give them enough time there. At the same time, sometimes it's darn hot by 12. And so again, we're just trying to find that sweet spot to maximize the most number of users as possible. And lastly is the pros plan. So we have 2 more focus groups left. We're going to be doing a survey for youth and parents of youth that should be getting kicked off real soon, and we'll have a booth on the July 4th as part of the parade and celebration. That we'll have that, as well as we have a business or event focus, sort of economic development focus group, where we'll have I don't have the right name in my head, but I call it a meet and greet that the Chamber of Commerce does on Fridays. So we'll have that at Pioneer Hall on July 11th at about 8 a.m. And so we'll be kicking that off there, and there'll be another survey for those business owners, event providers for us. And then we'll have our community values survey, knock on wood, ready by the 27th to go out live, and we'll have that open for 30 to 45 days as well, to again sort of take all of our prioritization work that we need to do and kind of get that lined up to help us with our levels of service as well as our future goals and objectives work. And then it's just all downhill, right? More public meetings and writing a beautiful plan. And with that, I will take any additional questions or allow you to move forward.
I have one question. Given what you just showed us on the pros plan, you're on schedule.
Yes, we are still on schedule.
Okay, excellent. And then I had a comment about all of the service adjustments, which we've been talking about during the budget cycle, setting the next biennial budget. You're already well on the way implementing those now. That's a wonderful thing. So by the time we get into the first quarter of the next fiscal biennium,
We can start to.
you'll have a lot of stuff already in place. That's great.
Commissioner Adams. Get the right word out of my mouth.
Thank you. I'm going to pass on a couple of grocery store / restaurant questions that I've been getting over the last month. So one is that there seems to be, with all of our meetings around the budget and the things that might need to be cut, a lot of questions around, so are we not cutting anything, or what's still getting done? So some examples of things I've been asked about are Daniel Meyer Pool, the splash pad, the community gardens, the East Main Park, Nature Center staff. And so just wanted to kind of give you the opportunity to clarify what's proceeding as planned, what cuts are we still needing to go forward with. And then the other related question is kind of well, wait a minute, aren't we paying a utility fee now? So why are we looking at any reduction, to some of the things you just talked about in this presentation? Why are we needing to cut back on mowing? Why are we needing to cut back on hours, garbage cans, those kinds of things? So just wanted to give you the chance to answer for the record some of the questions I've been getting in the co-op.
Let me try to get them in order. I'll get them out of order. But in regards to the budget, so the budget direction we received was a 5% reduction off of no increase in the budget over the current biennium. So with inflation and with the cost increases that we're seeing, that means that the dollar that we have today doesn't go as far as the dollar tomorrow. And so the 5% reduction and the increase in Pioneer Hall, the new park, those operational things that we asked for additional funds. So the $5 that people are paying on a utility fee is to make up that 5% reduction to hold existing service levels at the same level as best as possible and add those additional levels of service, those additional recreational, or some might say returning to the fold recreational opportunities for the community. So to a certain degree, it feels usually if I pay more, I expect more. And the reality is where the community's paying a bit more to try to keep the service level at the same level. In regards to, so with that, with holding the budget even and stuff, what we are doing is trying to maximize our efficiency and effectiveness to have the fewest number of reductions as possible. But there are reductions in our seasonal employees, in our professional service contracts for having an arborist come in and to do all kinds of work, all those sort of things. And so those are the things that we're trying to do to ensure that the fun stuff continues to be fun. We're looking at little things like we're adjusting our staffing level for the pool to where we have fewer people on staff to reduce our costs, but still try to keep that level to ensure that it's safe. And so those are little things that we're trying to do that shouldn't, knock on wood, impact the experience of having the open swim and the lessons and those things. And then as we go through this first season, we'll look to see where our savings are and whether we can continue to operate the pool or whatever service at that level, or what changes we'll have to make to stay within our budget constraints. Seems like I missed one of your questions from the co-op.
I guess I'll try to make them more specific. Do we expect the hours for Daniel Meyer to be the same as they were last summer?
They should be fairly close.
Do we expect I guess you answered the splash pad question, so some limitation in the hours for the splash pad. Will the community gardens continue to operate as planned prior to all of these discussions?
Yes, so we've committed that those that we have under contract for this season will remain as is, and we're meeting with the advocates involved to look and see if there's better models that provides a lower operational cost for us and still provides that same level. In regards to the Nature Center, I think that was the other question. Is there's still so we were already underway in trying to identify the business model we had of who came to the Nature Center has changed pre-COVID, and with COVID it disrupted significantly. So we were looking prior to this budget process of transitioning to an environmental education model, which is trying to put the engagement out there. And our surveys kind of showing that people do engage as they want to be outside and they want to bring people. And so having that interpretive and those hikes and those experiences, which you can get at the Nature Center, but again, try to diversify that portfolio within our programs as well as our partners' programs as well, and promoting those. So what we're looking to do is assessing all of our coordinator positions and manager positions in that restructuring to try to make sure we have people in the right to move all programs forward to where we're not really heavy in one program and really light in another. And that's a hard thing to do. Structure's half of it, and then it's the implementations 2/3. It's more than one, but that's kind of the way it works.
Gotcha. So it's hard to say it directly out loud, but our plan is still to move forward with the staff reductions at the Nature Center as presented before.
Yes, the positions, there'll be positions, they may be called something else, and their workload may change a bit, but most of the programming and all that stuff we're looking to still try to do and continue to transition as we were planning before the budget.
Gotcha. And East Main Park, you and I have talked about this offline, but I'll ask you about that directly too.
Yeah, so East Main Park, our plan is to, unless there's change in direction from commissioners, is to move forward with that construction project. We are looking at a revision to the delivery that we'll be talking more about to hopefully reinvest money differently to provide better recreational and fewer phases for the development of the park. And that's something we've got a lot of process to work on that. As well as the Hunter courts are going forward. Butler-Perozzi we'll be talking about later. And so all of those projects that we had identified moving forward with to repair what we have, and only that one expansion is still our plan to do that.
Great. Thanks so much for answering my co-op questions.
Yes.
Any more on this topic? Okay, let's move on. That would be our first, which is third quarter fiscal year 25 financial update. And this is an update for the second year of the biennium.
Correct.
The quarterly results, but you have some full year numbers, I think I saw too, right? On this. Where is it?
Everything should be, although we are into the Q4, that should reflect the end of Q3.
Okay.
So the end of March.
Got it.
All right. This first slide is for the general fund. This outer circle is our total budget for this fiscal year. That includes what was originally allotted for FY25, plus our carryover from FY24 that was unspent. That was about $1 million in payroll and about $80,000 in materials and services. So we started the fiscal year with about 1.1 million in addition. And this is just representing payroll is 68% of the revised budget, which includes that 1.1 million. And then materials and services in capital is 32% of the FY25 budget. And you can see from these, from the pie chart that's inside, this other pie chart, Q1, Q2, Q3. So we've been spending payroll as best we can, although limited in the people we have on hand. And then the remaining balance as of the end of Q3 is 2.6 million in payroll. If we go to materials and services, you can see we've been increasing our spending to make up, to utilize the extra money we had from FY24. So 670 to 800 to this quarter, 905,000 spent in materials and services. And there's, of the allotted amount, there's 309,000 remaining. We will spend that and more in this last quarter, which will come out of the payroll money that we have extra. So we will be leaving money on the table. Finance is aware. We told them about 457,000 was our guess 3 or 4 months ago. It'll probably be a little bit more than that, but we are making our way through, as Director Houston showed, with all the projects that we're trying to get done. in the limited time we have. And please feel free to interrupt me at any time. I'll just try and blow through these as quickly and as unboringly as I possibly can. So that's for general fund. I'll now go on to revenue. These, for every revenue program, there's 2024, FY24, and FY25. And as you can see, everything in FY25 is higher than FY24 for these four. Kaye had about a 12% increase. Facility rentals had a 128% increase. Golf rental fees is up 38% from this time last year. And adult recreation up 141%. More programs. Youth recreation, technically a decrease of 13.3. There was a refund. We started with a refund. It might have been a carryover from FY24. Anyway, so not much change there. Pool programs, there was a 43% decrease in revenue to date. Rink programs up 8%. Recreation events up 8%. Which should be much higher coming this quarter with the concerts we're going to have. So that's going to be great. Nature Center up 61%. Senior programs up 93% from this time last year. And then overall, all these programs up 19%. So doing better than the previous fiscal year for sure. Yeah.
How would these numbers compare to pre-COVID?
I don't have that, but I can certainly provide that when I get back to the office tomorrow.
I think you maybe could send it out to all the
Oh yeah, sure.
commissioners.
I'll do that for sure.
I think most of these numbers make sense to me. The one that I'm curious about is the reduction in pool revenue. Any thoughts on that? Or Director Houston, you're welcome to answer as well.
I don't have a lot of insight into the operations. I will say July in FY24 I think was a really good month at 26,000, but this July was 13. I don't know if that was weather.
I believe when we changed the online vendor program, it's when we received the funds changed. And so I think we got a bump early and now it should be evening out, is what I recall Deputy Director Dials saying.
So it's an artifact of the payment system. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think from a utilization perspective, they're pretty close. We didn't see a huge drop. And so as we get into Q4 here, we should see a similar bump, is our assumption.
Yeah, otherwise it's a little bit less, but it's spread out. But yeah, that was the one thing that popped out to me was that July number difference between the two fiscal years. So that's all I have for revenue. If there's any other questions. All right. CIP, we ended Q2 with 3.8 million in the CIP fund. And then this is just a waterfall chart showing the last 3 months for Q3. So this is food and beverage tax, interest earned, expenses, which is basically invoices for contracts that we have paid through CIP, food and beverage tax, interest, another small payment. This is a decrease for a transfer from CIP into the general fund, which we did last year and this year, and we're on schedule to do this coming
It's
biennium.
the preventive maintenance work that staff does that was established a couple years ago.
This 185 decrease is debt services for Kaye, Briscoe, and Garfield, which I believe should all be wrapping up this coming biennium, which is great news. So, and then food and beverage tax in March, interest earned in March, and then expenses, just a bunch of contract payouts. And that's, and then our SDC fund, which isn't really fun to, there's not much to chart, so I just included up here. It's currently at $462,060. We've never spent out of it, so it's everything earned to date. So, which I think is going to change this coming biennium. We will start utilizing that fund. And so right now we ended the Q3 for CIP at 3.3 million. On hand. And then that is all I have.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate it.
That takes us to our next item, number 2 on in the business agenda item is Oregon Parks Forever, Kids in Parks, Track Trails Partnership. And our presenter on this one is Environmental Ed Manager Kirsten Kame.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm just going to talk a little bit about a new program that we have, which is it's an interpretive sign and a program that's associated with it that is going statewide and is also nationwide. It's called Kids in Parks is the organization that is promoting it, and Oregon Parks Forever is part of the grant that allows it to be free for us. So this is a new sign. You can see it there in the picture. It's not very easy to see as the ribbon cutting. And so the development of this, putting the sign in the park really helps us with Objective 6, the Lithia Park Master Plan and implementation, which is to develop the promotion of citizen science and or environmental education. Mostly this sign and the education that is involved with it is directed toward young kids. So the ages are, it's really directed to kids that are like 6th grade and under. And then there's brochures, which we'll get into in a little bit, and they are different for different ages. And adults like to use some of them as well, so they're not really restricted to kids only. So the signs are part of a system called Track Trails, and Kids in Parks is the organization that is promoting developing them and mailing them out, producing the signs and getting them to us. So they are really great. So far, I've worked with them to try to get our part of our sign together, the bits and pieces that we can adjust. And they have been really great with, developing ideas and giving us making our images for our sticker. You'll see some of those in just a minute. But it's really a nationwide network. And it hasn't gotten in all states yet, but pretty well across the country. As you can see here, the states that there are track trails in, there's 300 in total in 18 states, and they are different organizations, so national, local, city, county parks throughout. Recently, they've done an Oregon expansion, so we were part of that expansion. And they recently just finished a 12-city or 12, I guess you would call it sign, tour where they did a ribbon cutting at each of these 12 places in Oregon. So if you look there, you'll see that the blue dots are the ones that were new, that were on this tour. And the stickers that you see below, this is our sticker right here. And it's the background is Lithia Park, as you can see, and that is an American dipper. That's our bird there. Medford doesn't have a sticker yet. If you go on their webpage, we all have a webpage that you go to when you do this program, and apparently they didn't get it together. But, I'm sure they're working on it. We have brochures. These are our personal brochures that on our sign. Right now, we have tracks and lichen, and hide and seek. That one's a real young one, and some of the other ones are a little bit older. The birds of Lithia Park were one that we developed specific birds for our park. And we could have one of those brochures that was developed for us specifically. Well, not developed, but adjusted to us specifically. And all of the brochures are free. The first group that we get, all 4 brochures, are included with the sign, which is also free to us. Eventually, when we run out of the first bunch of brochures, we will have to pay for more brochures, but they can print them for us, or we can have them printed somewhere else. We also have the flexibility of being able to create new brochures in conjunction with them. So if there's things that we would like to do specifically, like something about the Japanese garden or anything like that, we can do that with them. So that's another nice flexibility. These 4 brochures up here are part of the Oregon-specific group that they've developed. And if you can go online, when you go to the sign, there's a big QR code that you can use with your phone, and you can download all the brochures. So you don't actually have to take the paper brochure with you if you don't want to. And you can do that online. You can answer the questions. You can make any trail a tracks trail if you want to through their system, or you can visit any of these other brochures. So if you've done all the 4 brochures that are in Lithia Park and you want to do something different, you have the availability of adding to that online as well. When you complete a track trail, there are some things that the kids can get. So the sticker that was showing you the picture of the American Dipper, that sticker they can get, and they can also get other prizes and things mailed to them once they complete it online. So it's it's a really neat thing that's linked to a lot of other places, so they can collect more and more if they do more and more of the signs. So it's nice that there's one in Medford, there's one in Trail, and hopefully more will be coming to our area as well, besides just the ones that are throughout Oregon. They also have a really great partner resources page where you can, tap into events, you can reorder brochures, there's graphics that we can use. They're hoping to get doctors on board with this so that they will prescribe doing track trails to kids that need a little more exercise, I guess. So I think that'll be more coming soon on that. And there's also a page that I haven't been able to access quite yet because it requires us to download some verification app that I can't get onto my phone yet. Hopefully it will soon, but when I do, I will be able to see all of the information that you see here, how many people have registered, how many people have completed were first-time visitors, how many people completed each one of the brochures on the thing. So it gives us numbers, it gives us tracking to see how successful it is. And I'm hoping that will also tell us, are the brochures we picked, are they ones that people are using? Do they like them, or should we change them up and do something different next time? So that'll be interesting to be able to check out once I get logged on to that. And that's a little close-up of the sticker that they can get for Lithia Trails. So are there any questions?
Not really a question, just a comment. I think this seems like a great program. I'm also thrilled with the selection of the dipper, which is a bird that I have a special fondness for. It's just so neat to watch those little birds swimming over the water, and you often see them in Lithia Creek, and I think it's just, Ashland Creek. And I think it's a great program. I love it.
Yeah, they're kind of a little known bird, but they're pretty special. Yeah.
Yeah, just a comment as well. I love it. I think that is so great, and I think it's going to get kids engaged. It's going to get families engaged. It's going to get them outdoor, and and actually paying attention to the park and to the nature that surrounds them. Fantastic, love it.
Great. It's right at the playground too, which is really nice, so they can't miss it.
And I hope the school district's aware of this so that they can plan outings there, and if they're not, they'll be interested.
You know, we had a group of kids come from Central Point not too long ago on a bus. We had 46 kids that we helped take around Lithia Park, and it was kind of a last-minute thing, so we used some of the brochures, the sign wasn't up yet, to help, you know, to have them use as they went along, and the kids seemed to really enjoy them. We will do more of a marketing blurb as soon as we kind of get it together. They have some really great marketing materials already set up for us, so hopefully we'll get more and more awareness.
Great program. Thanks for your presentation.
You're welcome.
We'll go on to item 3, advisory committee charges. This is an action item. And it looks like Superintendent Natalie Mettler will be presenting on this one.
Good evening, Commissioners. For the record, Natalie Mettler, Senior Services Superintendent. Okay, I didn't mess it up. I am back a week later with pretty much the same information, but I will read from the agenda brief. The Park Commission tasked staff with developing a charge for the advisory committees. The Trails Advisory Committee already has their charge, so this is for the Ashland Senior Advisory Committee and the Recreation Division Advisory Committee. With input from advisory committee officers, the staff are proposing the following charges for the ASAC and the RDAC. For ASAC, the 2 charges being proposed are for committee members to work with staff to help interpret and implement PROS Plan senior services related items, and to advise staff on policies related to senior services. And for RDAC, the 2, sorry, am I really close to the microphone? It's echoing in my skull, I apologize. For RDAC, the 2 proposed charges are for the committee members to work with staff on the PROS Plan Recreation Division related items and to advise staff on policies related to the Recreation Division. And we are looking for a vote tonight, and this is consistent with the city ordinance on advisory committees and park commission policies. Oh, and you know what? I didn't even go through the slides. Sorry, that's why Rocky was trying to make eye contact. I apologize. So the proposed motion here is to move to adopt the charges for the Ashland Senior Advisory Committee and the Recreation Division Advisory Committee.
I just have one comment or question before we proceed, and that is that these are advisory committees advise the commission.
That is correct, yes.
Now, they work with staff. So it's just not clear to me in the charges that you're really, not you, your staff, but the advisory committee is going to bring forward to us certain things from time to time.
That is correct, related to the proposed charges, but through staff. It looks like Director Houston will take this.
What we're looking to do is, instead of having a chair come and present, is have the liaison come and present. And so that's why it's worded that way, is so they are working with us to provide, help inform us to bring things forward to the commission to advise us on.
So you, our liaisons to these various committees will be, oh no, you're going to present, or our liaisons are going to?
The staff liaison would
Oh, the
present.
staff liaison will present, and you're a liaison, I'm a liaison. I think that it's fine. I just want to be clear, I guess, for the public and for the record, that these advisory committees are set up to provide advice and proposals to the commission. And it's going to come through whoever the staff liaison is now will do the actual presentation, but the committee will vote on what's going to happen.
Yeah, and our interpretation, whether it's right or not, is that with the restructuring to where the liaisons couldn't be on the board, and part of that was to have staff fill that position in helping the chair run the meeting, bring information there, utilize the charge to move items forward, and then as such, I'm sure that the commission liaison will have input as well on anything that comes forward, but then to make that presentation to the commissioners based off of that sort of separation that was trying to get established with the new ordinance.
Clarifying questions before we have a motion? Commissioner Lant?
Well, just a comment. If you wanted to do what, actually more clarity might be to just say, advise Park Commission via staff on policies, because that's what you're doing.
I've, since our meeting last week, I've been trying to wrap my head around the why of this agenda item. And am I reading it correctly that essentially, because to me, these charges are obvious, right? That these advisory committees would be doing these things. And what's obvious in my mind is often unnecessary, but is the idea behind this that to sort of check a box in regards to consistency with the city ordinance around advisory committees that we don't technically need to follow, but we're trying to follow for consistency? Is that our why? Is that why it's on our
I think the why is that these two committees didn't have a deliverable, and this is sort of that first step of moving towards a deliverable for these advisory committees. And so the two deliverables we have now is we have a lot of refreshing of policies, procedures, and protocols that we'll be working on. And so it is a duh thing, but again, that's going to be a big sort of the unfun element, as well as with our pros plan, we had already had integrated them in being that additional arm. And so those were two things that we could pull out very easily to then provide time with our advisory committees if they are discrete things that they would like to do beyond these sort of two charges. And that this gives us through the end of this fiscal year, this calendar year, to kind of work with each of them independently on those things. So I would anticipate in the future that an advisory committee may come forward with something they want to do that's not sort of staff-led as this is, to meet sort of our operational and administration needs today.
Yeah, I will say that I had said that I was going to try to do some wordsmithing, and I failed dismally at my self-assigned task. But I did ponder this, because I still struggle with the advise staff on policies related to Recreation Division, when the reality is, sure, they're working with staff, they're advising staff, and they're bringing that information to the commission so that the commission can make decisions. And I just don't feel it in the language. And I don't know. And I, as I said, I failed. I couldn't come up with something that didn't sound like a word jumble to get to it. But I think that's the intention, right? Is that these committees are working with staff so they can put together a packet of information such that that information can be delivered to commission so that we can make policy.
That's exactly what I was getting at. Now, Commissioner Lunt, do you have in mind a motion? Please.
Yeah, I'll give it a whirl. I move to approve the charges for the ASAC and RDAC as presented by staff, with the following change to the second bullet point for each one to read, advise Park Commission via staff on policies related to senior services and Recreation Division respectively.
I'll second that.
Would you like to speak further to your motion? Would you like to speak further?
I think, to my mind, if the purpose of this is to actually give deliverables to these advisory committees, I don't think this does that. And And again, it seems sort of obvious, and I don't understand the necessity, so I'll actually be voting against this. It's not that I'm against them talking about those things, it just, to me, if we're giving them charges, like, let's spend some time, let's give them real charges that are actually connected to deliverables, to say, like, your charge is to talk about stuff that you'd already be talking about. Just, I don't see the purpose of it.
And I'm probably directing this one at our assistant attorney sitting with us. This doesn't preclude us at some time for any of these committees in the future to give them another charge.
No, it would be the same process that we're doing today,
Okay.
where you could use this as a pilot and take it back.
And we could add to these anything we wanted to on a specific project, let's say.
Certainly.
Okay, I just want to be clear on that. Anybody else? Okay.
Well, just on that line, obviously, the first charge will become obsolete in the not too distant. So obviously, we're going to be, if we're going to be keeping up, we would delete that charge.
We would declare it complete and move on. That's right. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Weiner,
Yes.
Commissioner Bachmann,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
No.
Commissioner Lant.
Yes.
3 out of 4, motion passes.
Okay. Moving on to number 4. Item 4 under the business section is policy framework adoption for policy 1.01.001. Director Houston will be presenting this one, and it's for action.
Thank you. So this came back after a study session and prior work. So at the April 9th regular business meeting, the commission directed staff to put this policy out for public review and comment, and to come back after that 14-day period ended to present. We got 0 comments from the public. It was published on our website, and again, Deputy Director Dials isn't here as my safety net to say the other things we did, but we did get it out for noticed and reviewed. So this policy establishes a framework for our policies, protocols, and procedures. We changed the one word in there to, instead of saying policy, meaning all 3, is direction. We have a minor edit that we'd like to propose in under the purpose. What I did here is I use direction as the word that means policies, protocols, and procedures as we refer to it moving forward in the document. However, unlike with Parks and Recreation Department and referring to it as department, there is no word direction in there to kind of have that anchor. And so I got some good feedback that where it says procedures is that we would add hereafter collectively referred to as direction, to help the reader make the connection that as we're talking about directions moving forward in the policy, that it infers all 3 of those elements. Commissioner Lott.
Yeah, could you read that the full sentence, please?
Sure. This policy establishes the framework and process for establishing policies, protocols, and procedures, hereafter collectively referred to as direction, for the Parks and Recreation Department, parentheses, department. As such, staff has a suggested proposed motion to move to adopt policy 1.01.001, policy framework.
Any clarifying questions for the director?
I'm not sure if this is qualified. Actually, I want to start by with an apology to our director, because I have did talk with him before the meeting, and then I didn't notice something, and I want to point that out before there's a motion made. And that's on page 4, under establishing directions. And under 4, so it's establishing directions D2, and then it's D2B, and then there's an approval process. And my concern is that most of the policies that I've been involved with in the past have not followed this approval process. Most of the policies that I've been involved with have been initiated basically at the commission meeting. And so commissioners have proposed, or perhaps it could very well, the staff could have been involved beforehand, but commissioners propose a policy and it's voted on, and then that's basically been the process. Once it's voted on, it is a policy. And I don't see any problem with these steps that are listed here. They would work when it is initiated by staff, but if it's initiated at the commission level, that isn't included in this approval process. And I could give you an example from past policies, and one would be, for correct the record, is in 2011, not 2010. 2011 is when the herbicide ban occurred. And that came at a commission meeting, and it was voted on, and then it was instituted. So my concern is what happens to those kind of policies when they don't fit the policy on policies process.
So I'm thinking, I don't know, we could add, I guess it would be another, let's see.
Chair?
Establishing. Yes.
So just a point of clarification. So I think there are policies that are in our policy book, and our integrated pest management policy will be one of those that is in our policy book. And then there is, for lack of a better thing, I'll call it an executive order. So there are direction that comes from the commission that doesn't go through this policy. So Rocky, wear red shirts, right? I'm just making something silly up. That may be a direction that comes, and there's an action that then directs staff to do that, but it isn't to the same level. And I think what occurred in the past, and what I'm trying to rectify here, is when we are going to go out and establish a policy for the department that impacts the community, is that we make sure that we have a robust engagement process to where there is input available. And equally important to me is that we and they, the community, can find it afterwards. And that's this thing. Whereas in an executive order thing, it's narrowly focused and is something that's going to occur. Hey, you could say, Director Houston, go research this. That could be a policy decision that's done for that thing, but it isn't a direction in regards to a policy that's going to be overarching. And I think that's the distinction, is how discrete the impact is for the community members versus how wide-spanning it is. And that's the wider impact of policies or direction is what this framework is intended to do.
Let me say that a slightly different way, I think, which is this is primarily or completely a function of the staff developing policies that help run the department. The commission will from time to time, and doesn't control the commission in any way, the commission from time to time will make policy. And so it doesn't need to be in here because it's sort of like your example, an executive order, but it's an actual policy discussion, and then we set policy. That's what we do for a living. So once again, I'm looking at my assistant attorney, city attorney over here, do I have that about right? In other words, we can make a policy and then you fit it into your system for implementing it.
Yes, if I'm understanding your question, and I guess to repeat back, let me know if I'm wrong in this, but yeah, I mean, the body can create policy on how to guide policy. And sometimes what I'm gathering from this is that the purpose is to provide clarity in process.
Right. And I don't think, this doesn't, and once again, in any way preempt us from doing policy like we normally do. On this body, this is not a commission policy, this is a department policy, and those are two different things. I think. Commissioner Long.
Okay, so if we were to take a vote and say, I don't want to use an example actually, but let's say we've gotten a lot of feedback from the community on issue X, and we decide that we want to take action. And we take action, and we say we want to instigate this, initiate this, or we want to ban this. Let's make it simple and say it's a ban. Then what happens then? Does staff then, are they just going to assume that then they need to put it into a policy? Or do we have to direct it? I still don't quite see how that works with this structure as it's written.
I think we would put our policy making in the form of direction to staff to develop the policy following this, to implement our policy following this.
So there was a
protocol.
commission action to ban wearing glasses. We would start actioning that, and then we would determine through our process, do we need to create a department policy for that ban on glasses? And then we would go through that process to update our policies to take that commission action to a department policy level.
Yeah,
If it didn't require a department policy, then we would just follow that action or direction.
Right, and I think I'm getting comfortable with the idea that there are department policies and then there are commission policy actions, and they're not the same thing.
And if we want to clarify that in this policy framework, we can add that, and then I would reach out to our legal advisor to determine if we have to go, depending upon the change, is it substantive and then require another 15-day public review, and that will be something we can do.
Yeah, I'm just not seeing this structure, how that would work. We come up and say, we're banning this. And then it goes to staff, and they follow this procedure, and they do a 15-day public input and do all these other things, but it's already a policy. I'm just not sure that this is really dealing with the two ways that policies could come before the commission or be decided by the commission.
It's an interesting wrinkle, and I think if we were looking at our other elected body, a lot of times what we're calling policies, they're calling ordinances. And then there is policy and procedure as well, so that there's still direction to staff to do X, and that either they determine, does it require a policy or an ordinance? And I think the same sort of framework is here.
Right, and what we historically think of that as we do a resolution would be the same as an ordinance, and that is a formal statement of a resolution, tells the world what policy position we're taking. And so I guess I'd like to see this reworked, and I don't know what my colleagues think, but so that is clarified. we're having trouble understanding the difference between this policy work and our own policy work. We probably still haven't quite gotten all the words in the right place.
Yeah, and as what I'm trying to get my head around as well, looking at it is, so there are certain decisions that would be deferred to staff. So under this, it appears that those would be the procedures and protocols, so the actions that would be taken. Policy under E, number 2, letter E, staff will review the policy and propose changes, blah, blah, blah. Oh, will present, D, excuse me, will present policy to commission at a study session to review changes, make any, so really it boils down to figuring out where what types of decisions can be made at what level. Is it within staff making a decision, or when should and how should it come to commission for the department level policies that are being discussed? And secondarily, what is the differentiation between a commission originated policy versus where's that level? Where's that differentiation? Where's that? And I don't have a great idea of it today, but it seems like that's somewhat of where the dilemma is, if I'm understanding correctly, and I feel it too.
Yeah, I think it needs some more work. I think and again, I apologize. I worked somewhat with Director Houston on this, and I wasn't thorough enough, and so that's I take responsibility.
So on a parliamentary level, should we have a motion to table it?
I think so.
Okay.
Because since it was an action
To
item.
make it a formal, yeah, okay.
I so move that we table it, the policy decision on policy on policies.
Do we need a time certain, table it for a specific meeting or just future meeting?
I would maybe ask Director Houston if you have a suggestion for that.
I think we can just table it and with instruction for staff to bring it back to a study session to visit the changes to the draft policy.
So we'll table it. It's implied that you will work on it some more. Second, anywhere? Commissioner Adams?
Second.
Well, actually, point of clarification. Commissioner Lott, do you want to table it with the input from Director Houston, do you want to table it for a study session?
My thing, it was just an indefinite. We table it and we.
Okay, and then we'll just table it indefinitely, so then the second will go, and then, okay, so we can have a vote on that, and then in the interim, staff can come back and in whatever way it would best fit, which sounds like it might be a study session.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so we had a second. That was Commissioner Adams. Any comments on your motions and seconds? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Weiner,
Yeah.
Commissioner Bachmann,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes.
Commissioner Lant.
Yes.
All yes, motion passes.
Thank you. And our final business item tonight, Butler-Perozzi Fountain, will be presented by Director Houston, and it's information only.
Thank you, Chair. So the Butler-Perozzi project is moving forward. We're at almost 100% design for our bid package. However, the cost estimate has gone up for engineering estimate to about $1.2 million. We've been working with the foundation, as you recall. Yes, Commissioner Lott?
I'm sorry, did you say $2 million?
1.2.
Thank you.
When the Ashland Parks Foundation brought this project forward to the commission in, I believe, 2022, at that time they said, hey, we'll raise the money, but we were looking for the department to deliver the project because we don't have those resources and that expertise to do that. However, it was something they were considering at the time. And so since the continued escalation in pricing, They have, are currently developing a new subcommittee that would potentially has the capacity to deliver the construction portion of the project. So not only are they raising the money, but they'll deliver it and then give it as a donation to the department. So, and the goal there is to deliver an equivalent or better product as it was here a few decades, almost 100 years ago, over 100 years ago now that I think out loud, as well as have it at a hopefully at a reduced price based off of the partnerships and expertise that they're collecting locally. So the department is considering this with an agreement that would identify key deliverables, hand over sort of the construction book as the template for the work to be done, and then utilize a process where the department would have to approve any changes in the scope or process. The key elements is that the State Historic Preservation Office still has to review and approve any changes. And so if there was a change from pink marble to Carrara marble, for example, that would still be something that would have to go through that robust process for review to it. So what I wanted to do is inform you of these potential changes, and if we're working with legal to come up with an agreement that would spell it out and ensure that the risk that the city's taking on by having a third party do these repairs is addressed, as well as making sure that the scope and all those deliverables, so that the community has access for the next 100 or more years to the fountain in the same or similar condition. So in preparing our agreement and preparation for the foundation to come potentially at our next business meeting, I just wanted to open it up, inform you of what's going on, and provide opportunity for any questions that you may have.
Anybody have any questions? I have one of, I think, again, our assistants, city attorneys are on, and that is, this is a contract of some sort, and our contract officer is the city manager. So if there's a contract created, the city manager would be signing it. And that doesn't bring into play that we should approve it first? I don't know. We being the commission.
Yeah, and this is actually, so this is a question that our office is going to have to spend some more time on, and it also, I guess to state the obvious, also came up with the recent fees discussion, and I know a number of commissioners have reached out to our office on that. And so, well, we're going to have to work through that and have a process, and I think that, and have some clarity on that. Yeah, so it's something that we're working on, and actually I think the question of the dynamic with the fees is also applicable here.
Okay, so just to clarify, you had a comment in here, Director Houston, that it's the last sentence on the first page. This agreement is a department operational action. As such, the agreement would not be signed or approved by the Park Commission, and that's what I'm questioning.
Right. Our intent was to, in the direction that we're going, is to get direction on that action. And then, as you pointed out, the city manager, depending upon the price point, so I or the city manager would actually be the one signing the agreement.
But I'm thinking we would need, that part doesn't bother me so much. I just think we need to have a formal vote on this. Right. And that's what that conversation was
Yeah,
about.
it was something I had, because Rocky and I have had conversations about it and teeing this up, and we have to do our work in addition to that, and that was something I had issue spotted.
Yeah, and it fits in with the work that went into the ordinance, which is that we retain policy authority over the department, and that we then recommend, then the director goes to council, and we expect on most cases that they would follow our policy recommendation, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm enthusiastic about this approach. Not only, I mean, I think the reason it was, this direction was broached was because of the cost. But I think it has the potential to actually keep the project more local and to allow some of our local talent, which is kind of traditionally, that's how the restoration work in the past has been done. And so it keeps it more local. And I think the potential for us to be satisfied is higher with this approach. So I'm glad that finances were pushed us in a direction that will, I think will be more satisfying for the community.
I agree completely. I just want to be sure the process is ironed out, so it's a new relationship we have with the city, the commission, as with the council, and so I just want to be sure we're improving that, the mechanics of making that happen. Thank you. I agree with Commissioner Lund. I think this is a fabulous idea. We just want to do it right. Okay, that's our last business item. Any liaison reports that we need to do? I don't have one. Okay, upcoming meeting dates. There will be a Park Commission study session on July 2nd here, Council Chambers, 6 p.m. Park Commission regular business meeting on July 9th here at 6 p.m. The Chamber of Commerce meet and greet. The Pros Survey, July 11, Pioneer Hall, 7:30 to 9:30, but you said 8:30, I think I heard.
Yeah, I think it starts at 8 a.m.
Okay.
But we'll make sure we get the 7:30 is the correct time. I misspoke earlier. Thank you, Nancy.
Okay, and then the Trails Advisory Committee meets July 15th at the Cabin, Lithia Cabin, at 4:30. And RDAC, the Recreation Division Advisory Committee, on July 17th at the Grove across the parking lot at 4 p.m. And with that, we've come to the end of our agenda. Meeting adjourned.